Welcome everyone to our last speaker series for the semester. We are super excited to get this one kicked off. I'm going to turn it over and introduce to you our interim vice provost, Dr. Caprice Moore, who will introduce our speaker today. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, welcome. Thank you. This afternoon, we have the pleasure of hearing from our colleague, a mechanical engineer and nationally recognized researcher and leader who joined S&T in August of 2019 as our Chancellor, Dr. Dehghani. During the last year, leaders across the world have faced unprecedented challenges because of the COVID-19 pandemic. In the presentation titled, Leading in Uncertain Times, Lessons Learned from COVID-19, Dr. Dehghani will discuss the principles of leadership that help him lead the university through this pandemic, and he will also share how these principles apply to other situations. Dr. Dehghani, welcome to our platform.
Thank you, Caprice. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join me in this conversation. I am delighted to be speaking with you on this particular topic of really leadership at any time. Yes, hard times are upon us from time to time, and we have to have sharpened tools in order to be able to lead through the challenges that we are faced every time. But frankly, the principles of leadership doesn't change. If you have properly done the work, can you put some live faces up there? Just they're all, yeah, at least one. So we're trying to, yep, one more. Okay, I guess that's good. That's good. Sorry, some technical shuffling here. If we have done our work properly, and every single one of us is a leader. You don't have to be in a management or administrative position to be a leader. The definition of a leader is someone who is constantly doing possibility thinking to improve the way they are managing their affairs, their offices' affairs, their organizations, and so on. So what I'm going to talk to you about are really the fundamentals of leading. Again, every single one of us can be a leader. The fundamentals of leading, so when the hard times do come, we don't have to resort to extraordinary measures in order to be able to handle extraordinary situations. We have to take care of all of our elements of leadership beforehand. So the element of trust, for example, is there. It'll be too late to try to build up trust with your team if you haven't done so earlier. And the trouble with trust is that it is very hard to build, and it has a half-life of about 17 seconds, and you must constantly nourish it. So the element of trust is built and is strong, so when the critical situations happen, the challenging times come, everybody trusts what you are doing, so they don't have to second guess you or second guess themselves in that situation. So in an environment like us, I mean, we work and live in an environment of consensus. There is no directive here. There has to be solid communication and listening. Someone once said that 90% of communication is listening. So we must be, we must sharpen that tool to be able to listen and understand people. Everybody must be heard, and everybody must believe that their ideas are respected. That's the fundamental element of leadership. Once that happens, once the communication happens, directions, albeit is one way, at some point we have to make a decision and we all will jump on that same wagon. But everybody must be heard. Everybody must be under the impression, at the very least, that their ideas is respected. Now, whether everyone's ideas cannot be possibly the direction of the organization. We have to come up with a direction for that organization to move it forward. But at the same time, every organization must have a direction. For us, for example, we very early we established our North Star. This is where we want to go. And then you develop strategies, and then you develop approaches in order to lead the organization in that direction. So trust is important. A sense of direction is important. Goals are important. It's no different than an individual. It's no different than our finances, for example. We must establish a sense of directions and establish goals in that. And our jobs in that regard are particularly much more sensitive than if we were in private sector. Ours is not just a job, it's a position of public trust. Every single one of us are in a position of public trust. The public must trust us. They must believe that we are doing everything that we can in order to be a dedicated servant. That's the challenge for our positions. Again, if we were in a private environment, that would be entirely different. But we are in the position of public trust, and we must remember that at all times. Let me say, what does that mean? What does it mean that we are in position of public trust? It means two things. It means that excellence is not optional and integrity is not optional. Period. We must be integral. And the thing about integrity is that, if you have it, nothing else really matters. And if you don't have it, nothing else really matters. You can sense that personally. If someone you trust and they have integrity in everything that they do, they can make a mistake here and there, and it won't matter. And if someone doesn't have integrity, they can do everything in their power, and it doesn't matter because the element of trust is not there. So, where are we? We must establish trust. We must be integral. We must have excellence in all we do. We must subscribe to that notion. We must know that we are servants. And if you build up on all of these elements, when the challenging time comes, people will not second guess you. You will continue doing the right thing no matter what. The only difference really will become that you must be ready, have your plans, implement your plans, but at the same time be ready to pivot with short notice. Must be data driven, must be science driven, because decisions are science based, decisions are data based. We must be able to collect data, analyze it, convert data to information, and that information to knowledge, so then we can make decisions based on those. I promise you, you will not carry everybody with you. No matter what decision you make, you are going to have some squawkers. But you will make your decision based on the fundamental decision-making principles. Open books, all decisions are made in good faith, and it's done with the entirety of data available to you. So, if you do make decisions based on those principles, then you have nothing really to worry about. You must be able to make yourself vulnerable. You must be able to say that I don't have all the solutions and I do need your help. And once we gather all the data, all the information, and get your help, and we make a decision, move forward, be ready, because we might pivot. It's sort of right now in this situation where, it's an extraordinary situation, of course, but remember that we've been here before. This very campus has been involved with wars, let alone pandemic. The campus was shut down for World War I, World War II. This is nothing really new. And at the same time, do believe that the sun will rise again. It's not all doom and gloom, but you've got to build your decision machinery based on the trust that you built, based on the collaboration that you muster, based on the fact that you have made yourself vulnerable. You have said to everybody that I don't have all the answers. We will make a decision, but please know that our decisions are in a mode of predictor corrector. The most challenging part about this past year, frankly, was that it was not a year. It was really 4 quarters. Sometimes I thought it was 12 months and not a year. And by that, I mean, we would make a decision at the beginning of a month, and we were ready to change it by the end of the month. And it has, of course, brought a whole different set of challenges into the equation of decision making. I tell you, in my assessment, there will be more changes in the American higher education system in the next 2 years than has been in the last 20. And therefore, we must be sharpening our tools all the time. We must have sharpened our reconnaissance system. We must have our antennas up to know what's the direction of the wind and how do we adjust ourselves accordingly. Let me also say that, as far as our jobs are concerned, we, every single one of us, are really a member of this organization and a member of the community. And these are not hierarchical orders. As I said, this is an environment of consensus. But we have an obligation not only to the university, but also to the community. And I think we've been great neighbors for the community. But I think as leaders, you must be cognizant of the fact that your span of responsibility goes beyond your own unit of organization, the bigger one and the bigger one and the university as the whole. And ultimately, our responsibilities are all over, the bandwidth of the societies that we live in. So please, be aware of that. And then let me also mention a couple of other things. In my view, in hard times, we must remain cognizant of the fact that we are a diverse organization. So diversity is a huge element of what we do. And by that, I don't mean just ethnic diversity. I mean talent diversity. I mean resource diversity. I mean, have we developed, sort of contingency capabilities, whatever they may be? Are we at the edge, or do we have enough room for plan B and plan C and so on and so forth, if it happens? So we must be mindful of diversity in all its manifestations. We must have built our capabilities, and we must be much more agile in responding to needs. For example, a great example of that happened here on this campus last April, like it happened on many campuses. We were agile enough to switch from, in-campus, in-person, on-campus situation to online situation in a matter of 2 days. That is agility. And that is what we must maintain as we move forward. I also tell you one other thing. In times like this, it's very difficult to really think of plans other than B and C. We're always ready to establish plans just in case this didn't work and just in case that didn't work. I submit to you a very, very important element of leadership in tough times is for us to also be able to plan for success as well. What happens if all the doom and gloom doesn't happen? Have we shut down all of the opportunities for ourselves? So if success does come our way, we are going to be able to handle it. That is a huge, huge challenge. I always am reminded of a story where, I was a young, engineer working as a consultant for GE locomotives. And, the locomotive industry had gone down for years and they had shut down their assembly lines and their buildings and all of that. And all of a sudden, there was a huge demand for locomotives. I think GE on that year had received an order for 250 new locomotives, but they had mothballed all of their facilities. So I remember I was in a room where, the plant manager for the operation looked to someone who was like a facilities director and said, "Well, how come we don't have our facilities ready for this wind that has come our way?" And the guy didn't miss a beat. And I vividly remember he said, "Well, sir, we've been planning for failure and success has come our way and we don't know how to handle it." And so I submit to you a very important element of leadership is not only be able to plan contingency plans, develop contingency plans, but also in the back of your mind, develop plans for success. If success comes your way, how does your organization, your unit, your office will be able to handle it? So with that, Andy is standing here and keep signaling me that my time is up. But I wanted to just say to you that as leaders, do not lose the sight that temporary down situations will not be forever. Pandemic, every pandemic has been around for a year or two, and after that, we have to manage our business as normal. Real leaders worry about long-term sustainability of their operations. The real leaders are always trying to see how we can thrive rather than just survive. And real leaders do not get bogged down, do not really get down in their energy for planning, for forecasting, for data. You must be thirsty for data all the time, constantly. Data call on this and data call on that, because none of us have we don't have the crystal ball to figure out the future. And with that, I am going to thank all of you for what you've done in terms of leadership of your organization, your unit. And we have emerged from the pandemic. I promise you, it's not going to be around another 2 years from now. It will go away. And this campus did beautifully, our students, our staff, our faculty, and everybody. But I refer back to the elements that I said. Establish trust. Consider data your friend. Do not fly by the seat of your pants. That will get you to nowhere. Data, establish trust, open books, full disclosure, and make decisions in good faith. Don't be afraid of being vulnerable. Do say that I don't have all the answers. I don't have half the answers. And I need your help in order to come up with answers so we can make our decisions going forward.
Chancellor Dehghani, we had a couple of questions come in. This one's from John. Obviously, the last year with COVID has been a very challenging, unprecedented year. I was curious during this time, what was, in your view, the most difficult decision you faced? And did you have all the information to make an informed decision? If you didn't have all the information, how did you compensate?
Yes, thank you. The most difficult decision, the most difficult really task was convincing people that we are not in a doomsday. That was the difficult task. It was making sure that people believe that we still must move forward and that this is not the end of the world. That was the most difficult situation. That was the most difficult challenge, frankly. It wasn't to go online. It wasn't really to go, from 60 people in a room to 20 people in a room. These were all mechanical decisions. We have terrific people around here, and we formed the incident command team, and we had answers to all of those questions. The difficult challenge was convincing people that this campus is not going to go. I mean, the campus was closed, but the university wasn't. That was the most difficult aspect of the past year. We are here, we are open for business. Our mode of operation has changed, but we are here. We will continue to be here. It's just making sure that, the famous statement that the thing to fear the most is fear itself. That was really the challenge. It was hard for me to see the fear in the faces of people. And yet I knew for a fact that we were going to survive. I was getting emails from parents who were just paranoid about what was going to happen. Handling situations of that was a lot more difficult than handling the pandemic itself.
Okay, we have another question. How do organizations maintain some of the agile changes that were made and evaluate what was good versus what needs a little more work to figure out?
Right, that's a very good question. And frankly, my answer is carefully and consciously. We must be constantly evaluating. Well, how is this versus how we used to do it? Remember what I said in the beginning. There will be more changes in the next 2 years in the American higher education system than it has been in the last 20. And we must be ready to accept and adapt to the changes that will come. In fact, we must be able to predict it. We must be the firstest with the mostest in some of these areas ourselves. We must implement change. And right here, right now, I ask you, for you to convince the rest of us that what you are going to do next is better than how you were going to do it, you were doing it in the past. So there is an element of entrepreneurship in everything that we do. There must be an element of entrepreneurship in what we do. Otherwise, if we keep on doing what we've been doing, we're going to keep on getting what we've been getting. So in your own areas, as a leader of your domain, what do you think would be a better way of moving forward than we've been doing in the past? So I suggest again that this is a problem, the solution to which exists in a distributed manner, and we must tap into everybody's possibility thinking strength, so we can figure out what are the changes that we need to make permanent, and what are the changes that we need to jettison and go back to the way that we do. One thing I know for a fact, for sure, if there was a major silver lining in the pandemic this past year, is the fact that campus life has never been more popular than it is today. So we will have a campus life. We must try to get back to normal, whatever that new normal is. But a major element of that normalcy is an on-campus, in-person activity We are a community, and we must bring that community back together.
The last question. Oh,
Yes,
go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead, please.
It was just asking what the university's stance was on the vaccine or vaccination as far as the campus is concerned. Could you speak to that briefly?
Yes. So our stance is that I am on my knees begging people to get vaccinated and be an ambassador for vaccination. Look, corona is a dangerous disease. It is curable. We have an enormously effective vaccine. We are a community. It's not what I just do that affects me and myself. What I do in this situation, in this community, affects others. We must be science and data driven, as I just mentioned. Data and science is on the side of vaccine. If there are any lingering fears, talk to the experts. You know, our physicians on campus are ready to speak with you about your fears. So my stance is that I am on my knees begging everybody to respect the process and the vaccination and the community, get vaccinated. The great news is that we send out a survey to our students through, you know, this tool that we have, which is a EdSite tool that we have, and 93% said either they are vaccinated or will be vaccinated by the time the fall semester starts. So to be clear about this, we are not right now thinking of mandating vaccines. We are not. We're not going to require everybody be vaccinated before they can come to campus. But remember what I said earlier, we have made that decision depending on the success of vaccination rate that we see. We may have to change that decision. Okay, but right now we are not thinking of mandating the vaccine. We are asking everybody to please get vaccinated. And vaccines are available for everybody right now, yes, as you know. So that's our stance right now. Okay, thank you very much. I have to rush to Jefferson City. Andy and I will be headed up north, and I'll be delighted to respond to your questions if you want to email me. But please help us in this regard, vaccination, and let us know if there is any help you need in that regard as well. Thank you all.
Chancellor Dehghani, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us as well. I'm going to post a link in here as he heads off to his next appointment, where you can find the recording within the next couple of days in case you missed part of it. But thank you again for joining Global Learning at Missouri S&T on our speaker series. This was a great way to wrap up the semester.